It's no secret that Battlefield 2042 simply wasn't a finished product when it released. But it's changed a lot over 2022, and we've seen discounts of up to 55% in recent weeks. So is now the time to finally pick up or reconnect with this game. First, a quick bit of trivia. Which of the many Battlefield titles received the highest Metacritic score of them all? Have a guess, and I'll reveal the answer later in the video. There are two parts to the Battlefield formula that are required to make the game successful. Number one, creating that feeling and scale of being on a battlefield. Well, obviously, but that's just the initial hook. The second part of the equation is progression that will keep the player coming back. As we progress through today's video, we'll break down these two main areas to see who the game might appeal to in its current form and what's on the horizon for the game. Firstly, the guns feel and sound amazing. There's a satisfying thud whenever you shoot, and the explosions have some real substance behind them. You may hear a lot about mouse input lag being an issue with the game. It won't be noticeable for the more casual player, and the devs are actively trying to fix the issue. So you just need to ask yourself how highly attuned your aiming senses are. If you're not a competitive player or an all-day streamer, it's unlikely that you'll notice. The game has some destruction. Some buildings have sections that can be destroyed, but there are many that are simply immune. Is this a big deal? Ultimately, it comes down to personal preference, but there are definitely times the wall you were using for cover is gone. It just feels scaled back compared with some previous Battlefield titles. There's a decent variety of vehicles that are perhaps not as fun or iconic as previous Battlefields. But it's a relief that vehicles aren't as overpowered as they have been in previous titles, which were rendered tedious by one guy strafing in a plane, racking up 300 kills in a single game. Deployment is fast, as is traversing the map using your parachute or zip lines to effortlessly scale the impressively layered environments. So getting into the fight, or the time to action, is rarely an issue, and as seen in the recent update, they're making it even less of an issue by reducing the distance between capture points. They're also adding a lot more cover, as the big maps felt empty and exposed for infantry, a very welcome improvement. You can change attachments within a couple of seconds while playing, so you no longer have to choose between your 8x scope or your hollow sight. Again, personal preference. It makes the game more flexible and accessible to the casual player. Similarly, you also have the flexibility of being a medic with a light machine gun. You're no longer restricted to an SMG, for example. You can basically use any weapon with any setup, which some players hate. But again, it's flexibility that makes the game easier to pick up and put down. You don't see much of the storms or other weather events that feature heavily in the game's marketing. But on the other hand, when you see a bunch of soldiers storming the interior of a ship in the game's trailer, that really is what the game is like. Ultimately, the buggy mess that was Battlefield 2042 when it released is no more. I've had nothing but a smooth gameplay experience on my trusty GTX 1080, and the game is suitably intense, just like a Battlefield game should be. I know everyone loves hating on the game since it released, but honestly, I kinda love it and keep coming back to it. Overall, the experience is a bit crazy as walls and vehicles explode in front of you, and the maps have a way of funneling players into intense long-range engagements and close-quarters firefights. Take away all the expectation, take away the shoddy release and the baggage that comes with EA. Battlefield 2042, right now, is a decent Battlefield experience. Perhaps more so for casual players, but casual players are the ones that are going to fill up the servers. However, as good as the Battlefield experience might be, in part 2 we answer a simple question. Do you have a reason to come back long term? It's no secret, Battlefield players like a bit of a grind, whether it's generic XP to unlock weapons or weapon XP to unlock attachments. Battlefield 2042 sticks to this tried and tested formula, giving you plenty to unlock. Spending time with a single weapon, making it more and more deadly with each unlock, then eventually moving on to something else and starting from scratch, will keep you busy for many hours. You can also unlock new specialists with different abilities, more on those later. There is, of course, the standard 100 tier battle pass, free if you just want to unlock new weapons, etc., but you can pay for a premium if you want cosmetics. Just cosmetics. No pay to win. We're currently on Season 2, which gives us a new map called Stranded, a few new weapons to level up, and vehicles too. We even got a new specialist called Charlie Crawford with a deployable minigun. So yeah, there's a lot to unlock. Every time you finish a match, you'll see several different progress bars fill up, progressing towards everything I've mentioned and more. In honesty, the weapon unlocks are what keep me coming back, and it was the same with Battlefield 2142 nearly 20 years ago. Well, that's scary. It's an old system, but it works. The Battle Pass is just a nice extra. If you've made it this far into the video, thanks for sticking around. We have a few more areas to analyse, including the controversial specialists, before getting to our final conclusion on whether Battlefield 2042 is right for you. The primary modes in Battlefield 2042 are 128-player Conquest, 64-player Breakthrough, and 32-player Rush. You can also set up a practice mode against bots, which is surprisingly fun and good practice, especially for vehicles. There are debates about whether 128 players is the right number for Conquest. Personally, it seems absolutely fine. The maps are huge, but it's easy to get around, even on foot, and there are times when it is absolutely freaking mental. If you're a pure Battlefield Conquest fan, there's a lot for you to like here. Both Breakthrough and Rush have their place though. They're smaller, but more intense modes where you can either attack or defend. The player numbers are lower, but the way they downsize the maps and focus the fighting onto capture points leads to some seriously intense firefights. In Breakthrough, you just capture the points, whereas Rush is about arming and disarming bombs to take out the points. There's nothing quite like defusing a bomb with a millisecond to spare. If I had to choose a favourite, it would be Rush, but the true beauty of this trifecta is the way they each offer a different Battlefield experience. If you only have time for a quick session, give Rush a go. If you have more time, then perhaps give Conquest a try. In reality, I'll probably give all three a go in a single session, and this core variety is a strong selling point for the game. It doesn't stop there though, there are two other modes you may have heard of, Hazard Zone and Portal. But what are they? Hazard Zone is the frankly unnecessary Battle Royale style mode that the developers are no longer adding content for, but quality of life improvements have been made recently. As a team of 4, you compete against others to obtain and extract data drives. It's possible you'll enjoy the mode, but it definitely feels like an afterthought compared to the other modes. I can't help but feel they tried to bite off more than they could chew with this. If you like Battle Royale style games, then you may enjoy it, but the fact is, there are better alternatives out there. A fun little addition for when you fancy a change from the other game modes, I guess. Portal, however, is far more interesting. It's a playground that allows players to create custom matches with a variety of gameplay options and share them with the community. Aside from the content featured in the main game, the mode gives exclusive access to maps, weapons, vehicles, and classes from Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. So you can basically create your own server with your own rules with access to the content from those games, but everything is modernized to 2042 standards. If you like World War II, you will definitely find a server focusing on World War II. You could find a server of 16 players versus a million bots, a milsim server with super realism, and the list really does go on because that's the whole point. It's a sandbox where players can create whatever they like and enjoy it with other players. It reaches a point where you load up the server list just to see what crazy shit people have come up with today, and it's an excellent addition to the game. Before we get into specialists, I promised to let you know which Battlefield game has received the highest Metacritic score of them all, and the answer is Battlefield 2, with a score of 91 way back in 2005. Did you get it right? Let me know in the comments below. It's finally time to address the elephant in the room. A controversial subject from the beginning, the specialists. Some players hate them and think they're very un-Battlefield. But why? In previous Battlefield games, you would play a generic soldier, not a hero, just a soldier. The uniforms would make it easy to identify friend from foe, and you would simply choose from one of 4 classes to give you a steer on what kind of gameplay you should pursue, and it would likely lock you into a certain weapon or equipment choice. Specialists tear all of that up and gives you a choice of predetermined characters. So the game basically has about 20 of each specialist running around on both sides using whichever weapon they choose. It makes enemy identification difficult. It's difficult to tell which teammates are medics or can give ammo, and it just takes away something that made you feel like a nameless soldier on a battlefield. However, 90% of this is solved by the HUD. Identifying enemies is pretty easy these days, though not flawless, and identifying whether a teammate is a medic is again sorted by a big cross on the HUD. Not that anyone helped you, anyway. The HUD is actually way better than previous games, as it has so much work to do. They are making changes that will put specialists into a certain role, and each role can choose from the gadgets associated with that role. This appears to be a decent middle ground, but we won't be seeing it until 2023. Ultimately, a personality versus a generic soldier was always going to be difficult to reconcile, and some players simply won't tolerate specialists. But what you do get is a very flexible system where you get to choose your skills and weapons and even change your attachments on the battlefield, and I for one am enjoying that flexibility. And we must simply accept that every player will have a different opinion on this subject. So who would Battlefield 2042 appeal to, and is now the right time to pull the trigger and buy the game? It mostly comes down to how you feel about change, as 2042 is a big departure from previous titles. The glitchy, unfinished game we had at launch is gone, so that is no longer a factor in the equation. The actual running and gunning, the flying around huge aircraft while your teammates shoot out of it, the core, fun gameplay is definitely there. But the issues players have with the specialists, the mouse input lag, can't be ignored. Personally, I don't particularly like or dislike the specialists. Would I prefer there to be a class system? Maybe, but I'm a bit busy having fun blowing up tanks with C5 to care. Increasingly, you need to compare Battlefield 2042 to milsims, such as Hell Let Loose or Squad, rather than Call of Duty, as much of the older player base has moved on to those games, which are so similar to 2042 and yet so different. The main point I would like to make to help you decide is that Battlefield 2042 is for casual players. It's easy and fun to pick up and put down when you have some time. Hell Let Loose by comparison is far more intense, and you need to use your mic to get the most out of it. In fact, these two games complement each other so well that if you like Hell Let Loose but sometimes can't be bothered with the intensity of the comms, there's a chance you'll like having 2042 in your library as an alternative. I know I do. My point is that a Hell Let Loose player would enjoy 2042 when they just need some time to chill and can't be bothered to talk on the mic. And the same can be said for Postscriptum and Squad. 2042 is an alternative, not competition. It's easy fun. However, I can't suggest paying full price for the game, but it's regularly on sale with a 50% discount or even a 55% discount recently, at which point the game offers much content for that value. Ultimately, I suspect 2042 will follow a similar path to Battlefield 5 and Star Wars Battlefront 2. So much hype before release, then either because of it being unfinished or pay to win, people hate it when it is released and forget about it, leaving those who are willing to give it a chance to benefit from the incremental improvements the developers will deliver. Then a few years later, those same players who hyped the game up and then forgot about it will start saying how underrated it was and why was it so underappreciated at the time. Are you that guy? Or perhaps someone willing to look past the popular opinion and see the game for what it is? Not perfect, but a solid Battlefield game. If I could turn back the clock 18 years to when I sunk thousands of hours into Battlefield 2 and give my teenage self a copy of this game, my PC wouldn't be able to run it. But if it could, my teenage self, without any of the marketing build-up, without knowing any of the hate for specialists or any other expectation, would absolutely love Battlefield 2042, and there is a real chance you will too. Provided you're willing to give specialists a chance and aren't so hypersensitive with aiming that the input lag will bother you. I'm passionate about war games, strategy, World War II, and basically anything that blows up. If you're the same, then feel free to check out the rest of my content, as you may find something you like, and feel free to support the channel in some way if you're feeling kind. See ya.